Hello, Sister Dijon.
I want to say
Right. Good evening. Now that we are trickling in, I think we can start. So, welcome to the midweek Bible class of the St. Andrew Church of Christ. We are grateful that you are here and hope that you'll be blessed by our time together. Trusting that the heat has not been overwhelming for you, and that despite its challenges, you are thriving. Sort of waiting a little bit longer because I'm hoping to prevail on Brother Stephen to allocate points, but I don't see any men coming. So maybe it's a futile wait then. So
I think we can give them a few more minutes.
so yeah,
unbiasedly, of course.
what I maybe I have to say, but I'll say it again then. What I wanted to do, there are, I think, 4. Yeah, there's a little medley of songs that we sing. I mean, if you go to campaigns or anywhere, you know, our wonderful song leaders, you know, sing these choruses, and we are engaged in them. There's something unique about this little medley that I have put together, and I would like to see if you could identify what it is that I find to be special about them. Right? So that is a little challenge. Not going to take up all of your time, so don't worry yourself about it. But there is something unique about this medley of choruses that I would love to know if you identify them yourself, right? If anybody can. So let's give us a minute or two. One way or the other, we will start. In 2 minutes return. In the meantime, just want to, those of you who are not aware, we have a new sister with us, Sister Dejane Foster. She's online, so you can hail her up and reach out to her to make sure that she grows up and continue in the faith. We are blessed that the gospel still works. And so I want to celebrate young people who are blessed to actually give their lives early, unlike some of us who, let me speak for myself, who waste a lot of your life before So it's a blessing really when you can start early. So what time going, but Stephen, I better start.
Yeah, go ahead, Brother Smith.
All right. So the request is, right, that I will sing a medley. I think it's going to be 4. And there is something unique about this medley that we could draw lessons from. Let us see. All right, so without further ado, let's go. I hope everybody knows what the task is. So we're going to sing along, of course. Enjoy it. Make sure that you're paying attention to the words as you go along. And then we have literally a minute afterwards to just say, is there something that you have seen? My young companion, fare thee well. I will not go with you to hell. I'm on my way to Canaan's land. I will not go with you. My young companion, fare thee well. I will not go with you to hell. I'm on my way to Canaan's land. I will not go with you. Leave Babylon, leave Babylon, leave Babylon and go. Don't mind your friend, may laugh at your scorn. When Christ was here, they done him the very same. Look in your life, see how you live. Leave Babylon and go. Leave Babylon, leave Babylon, leave Babylon and go. Don't mind your friend, may laugh you to scorn. When Christ was here, they done him the very same. Look in your life, see how you live. Leave Babylon and go. And there is one more. Sorry. One more. That's along the same line. Oh, you better get right with God. Come and do it now. Under the cross of Jesus, I lay my burden down. You better get right with God. Come and do it now. Get right with God. For there are 2 roads before you. Pick your choice. There are 2 roads before you. Pick your choice. There are 2 roads before you. Pick your choice. There is hell and there is heaven. Pick your choice. All right, so those are the 4 songs. Right? So you come in late. The challenge is to identify something about them. So I'm not going to go to hell with you. Leave Babylon and better get right. And then there are 2 roads before you. Anybody has any idea as to what is it that I find unique about this little medley, which we normally sing? Yeah, maybe not all together.
It's an appeal to persons to turn their life over to the Lord. So it's like an appeal or an invitation song, sometimes used at gospel meetings and so.
Okay. That's part of the answer. Thank you, sir. Anybody else? Anything unique about these 4 choruses?
It's all, I think also it's like an individual encouraging their friend or his friend or her friend to actually turn their life over to the Lord. I don't know. That's my take, second take.
Wonderful. Okay. Can we hear from anybody else? It's not the complete answer I'm looking for. I don't have to have very much more your time. Another minute. Anybody else can link these four? Brother Grennell is on track, don't worry, but it's another angle. All right. Let me carry Brother Grennell further down then. 2 Timothy 4:2.
Repeat that, Brother Smith.
2 Timothy 4:2.
You want what that says?
No. I'm giving you a hint.
Okay.
It's about 3 weeks of points to get into this, So just continue along the track, but I'm giving you a big hint as to what it is that drew my attention to these songs. All right, Stephen, you're a man, you want to jump in?
I hear giving thanks for the time to check over my slides, Brother Smith.
Okay, cool. All right, that's it. Basically, what the idea is how direct the messages are, where the 2 Timothy passage talks about, presenting in love, with great patience, and with, a lot of instructions. So this is, you wouldn't encourage people to go door knocking and be evangelical in this kind of way. I'm not going to hell with you, right? Come out of Babylon looking at your life, and there are 2 roads before you, right? And you better get right with God, right? So that's what I was saying. Is that, but we sing them, and it's fine. But if you were to approach somebody and try to encourage them in the gospel, this is not exactly what you go about. You watching out. You now go hell with you, you better leave Babylon. And you have 2 roads before you cannot decide now. All right, okay, sorry. Sorry to take up your time, Brother Stephen, but you get a chance to look over your slides. But it's interesting is that we sing it and it does come across nice. But if somebody were to preach it, we would be a little bit uncomfortable. Those are the thoughts. If anybody has a quick word about that, I would be very interested. Stephen, I really might. Any thoughts about how things can be done in song, but it would come across kind of rough if you were to say it in words?
Oh, Brother Smith?
Yes.
Yes. They seem like folk songs that reach people where they're at. Like they use Babylon, probably in those days they knew Babylon as someplace bad. And Canaan is good, a good place to be. So the encouragement comes from the song, like folksy.
Yeah. So maybe that is what reduces the impact, if you want. Okay.
Right.
Answer. Right. Brother G.S., I had your mic open. I don't know if you wanted to say something, and then we turn over to Steve.
Actually, Sister Grennell wanted to say something.
Okay, cool. I
was thinking that you could use them, but not say for door knocking. But somebody that you have been studying with for a while, you have a good relationship with.
Thanks, Sister Gwen. Can we have a word of prayer now, please?
Let us pray. Good God and merciful Father, Redeemer and our friend, we thank you for this day. We thank you for the strength the protection, the guidance you gave us through the day to allow us to meet like this, using this technology to study your word. Father, we thank you for Stephen who have prepared himself to share with us. We thank you for the songs we just sung and the message therein. We thank you for the church family where we can really reach out and impact each other's lives. We thank you for the just concluded gospel meeting. We thank you for the 2 souls that were added to the kingdom of God, Sister Desjardins and Brother Adrian. May you really bless them and keep them. May they grow in grace and in the knowledge of your Son, Jesus Christ. Father, as we go through from day to day, help us, O God, to truly remain faithful and remember to allow your Son, Jesus, to indwell us and keep us strong. Help us to truly lead Babylon and be faithful to you, the church. For those feeling so well at this time, may you encourage them, may you strengthen, and we are grateful. May the strength filled with loved one.
I think Brother Grennell got disconnected. Okay, he's back now. All right. I don't know what the standard procedure is when the prayer is cut in the middle. So let me just say a quick prayer and then we'll jump into things. Most kind and merciful Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for this Bible class. We pray that the information that will be shared will be beneficial to all those who hear, and that there will be something said that can be applied to each individual's life. This we ask in your Son's name. Amen. All right, let me get my screen up and turn on my camera. Yeah. Can everybody see and hear me as well as see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Stephen.
All right, thank you very much. Lovely,
What
lovely.
was that, Fion?
I don't know if she did say something, but it is good to see her, even though we have some activities for the male and the female. So I'm hoping that she's in a location where she can't say anything, so that they will be balanced. All right, guys, welcome back. We have had a bit of a jungle gym timetable of late. We missed the past Tuesday because of our campaign, and we had class then, and then I was at church camp the Tuesday before that. So for the past 5 weeks, we've only had 3 classes. So we're going to start this class with hopefully enough recap for you to remember what we have gone through and for me to remember it as well. And then we will jump into where we last left off. So for those who may be joining us for the first time, a reminder that our study is called Lost, a Case Study. We are focused on Luke chapter 15, which is where the parable of the lost things are found, the lost coin, the lost sheep, and the lost son. We are looking at the coin, having completed a study on the lost sheep a few years ago. And our study is a 3-pronged study. We have been looking at the coin, one in regards to diagnosing the reason behind it becoming lost. So we know in the parable that the coin was lost. But our intention in our study is to identify ways in which the coin could have ended up being lost. Then ascribing those same ways to ourselves to see if we end up lost in a similar manner. And then finally prescribing ways to either prevent us from being lost or treating us if we are lost so that we can return. So we have been looking at rolling resurgence, and rolling resurgence speaks to the coins rolling that takes place. So when a coin falls, it tends to roll rather than just fall immediately and stay in place. And we looked at some symptoms of rolling resurgence, which is falling, rolling, and displacement. Falling being the coin as a result of gravity moving in a downward fashion from wherever it is. So whether it is from out of a pocket, out of a wallet, off of a table, once it is affected by gravity, it falls. Then it rolls, which is as a result of its spherical shape and the fact that it is not significantly affected by friction. So the coin will move away from where it falls. And then that distance between where it fell and where it ends up is that displacement. And all of these things are things that we can see, symptoms of the coin rolling. We looked at some causes, the shape of the coin being one of the causes, generic in the sense of the coins have a circular shape, and then specific in the sense that different coins you have some coins that are more spherical than others, which will maximize the likelihood of it rolling. We looked at the surface, how smooth the surface is, meaning that it would have less friction, and the slope of the surface will maximize how gravity affects the coin. So a smoother and more sloped surface will allow the coin to roll more easily and to a greater distance. And then the science behind the coin rolling, gravity, as we said before, pulling the coin downward, and inertia allowing the coin to continue moving given that it has started moving. So those are some of the causes behind the coin rolling. And we started doing a case study, looking at ourselves to see if in a similar way to the coin, we end up lost. Do we at times roll? Do we display rolling resurgence? And the first way we analyze that is by looking at our shape. So just as the first cause for the coin that we saw is in the shape of the coin, are we prone to rolling due to our own shape? And we looked at some different mindsets in relation to how we are built, our own characters and our own traits, as to whether this affects how inclined we are to rolling, to falling away from God. And the first one we looked at was the villain mindset. And we saw that there are two types of this mindset. The first one, type A, is that I believe my wrong is needed for the greater good. So the traits that I have been gifted by God that facilitates me doing the wrong thing is okay because it is needed for the greater good. And we looked at some individuals in fiction that displayed this kind of mentality where they recognized that what they were doing was wrong, but they also deemed that it was needed for the greater good. And then the type B villain is that the one who embraced their traits as inevitable. So this is who I am made to be. That should be, this is who I am made to be. This is who I am. Once there is a particular trait that they have or an inclination towards a particular direction, there's this embracing, especially if it's negative, that this is how I was made, this is who I am, and embracing it is either a necessity or inevitable. We looked at some Bible characters. We looked at significant cases of Absalom and of Saul. And we saw that Absalom, though he had very similar character traits to David, led a completely opposing life. And he showed that these traits, though in and of themselves not negative, led him down a negative path when he embraced that was a part of who he was. We looked at Saul before he became Paul, and how the same characteristics that he had before his name was changed to Paul led him in a negative direction, and how he used those same traits after being properly informed to transform his life. It was the same the same characteristics that drove his negative life that drove his positive life. And we saw the importance of the mindset and understanding of who you are, and then the direction that you choose to go, how that plays such a difference in the way that you turn out, depending on how you view that particular mindset. And the more that you embrace the idea that these traits validate a negative lifestyle, is the further away you will roll, just based on who you are, the shape that you have. We looked at the victim mentality, where one presumes that the things that are happening to them, they have absolutely no control over. And the way that they are affected by them, they have no control over. And they are prone to this consistent victimization. And we looked at some signs and symptoms, especially as displayed by particular groups. We looked at the Israelites and how they showed a fixation on negative events or trauma, how they displayed learned helplessness even when they were in situations that God had proven them capable of overcoming. We looked at the Pharisees and how they overly dramatized insignificant events and how they had a need for excessive attention, highlighted especially through Jesus's omniscience. We looked at Saul, and this is King Saul, how he displayed low self-esteem and a tendency to blame others for his own actions. And we looked at Cain, how he displayed severe self-pity and a lack of empathy. And we identified that we have to be extremely careful that we don't embrace this particular mentality. Even as we go through our own trials, even as we recognize our own talents or lack thereof, there may be areas where we're not as inclined as others. And sometimes by comparing, we can embrace this idea of being a victim. Things being unfair, bad things always happening to us. We'll have to be very careful that we don't use those as excuses to move in the wrong direction, as a lot of these characters did. And then we looked at the vigilante master plan. And this was twofold as well. Two things essentially making up this master plan. One is an understanding or belief that the current authorities are lacking. And second is that my intervention is necessary. And this intervention would be based on the character traits that I believe myself to have, that are necessary for whatever change I believe is needed. And we saw one of the big issues with this idea of the vigilante master plan is that we create the definitions as to what is right and what is wrong. And these things can be affected by motive, results, circumstances, or public opinion. And if we allow any of these things to color our opinion of these matters, then we can be walking down a road like the villain, where we presume our actions to be right, but they are actually wrong. We highlighted three particular flaws to this master plan. The one is the danger of degradation. We looked at the story of Moses, where he struck the rock instead of speaking to the rock as he was instructed by God. And what God highlighted was the error, or the main fault in this particular action, is that it took glory away from God. We have to be very careful that in our presupposition that our actions are the right way, that we aren't neglecting what God has established for us to do, and as a result of that, taking glory away from God and directing it towards ourselves. Look at me. I'm the one who, I'm the agent of change. I am the one who you should pay attention to and praise, rather than God. We looked at the error of extenuation. We looked at the Saul situation where, rather than waiting on Samuel, he made an offering that he was not authorized to do. And we saw that the reasons behind his actions from a human perspective were valid. He was under pressure by the Philistines. The army was running away. Samuel was later than promised. And because of as a result of all of these external factors, Saul felt that this was necessary. And we have to ensure that we don't fall into that same situation where we use our circumstances, whether they are uncertain or ominous, as justification for not following God's will. And the last one we looked at was the flaw of fabrication. And this was seen once again in Saul, where when given a command by God to destroy the Amalekites, all of the people and all of the livestock, Saul decided to spare the king as well as to spare the lives of the livestock, claiming, whether truthfully or otherwise, that he would provide them as an offering to God. And the flaw of fabrication is finding a way to falsely link what we want and what God would want. So Saul used that fabrication that this is what God would want. God would want them to take the king captive because that would put them in a advantageous position. And God would want them to spare the livestock so that he could get a sacrifice. We have to be very careful that in our own actions to get what it is that we want, we don't find or create a link between what it is, the end goal that we have in mind, and then say, this is essentially what God would want, when God has already indicated what actions or behaviors are necessary for him. So we went through all of that in our correlation with the shape of man. And one of the things that we saw is that none of these behaviors or mindsets are beneficial. So how do we overcome these things? How do we, recognizing our own state, our own traits, our own character, and how in a lot of areas we are flawed, we are lacking? How do we prevent ourselves from becoming the villain, becoming the victim, or becoming the vigilante? Our response to that is what I have coined as the vigilant maneuver. This is our way out of those mindsets. We have to apply the vigilant maneuver. Please note that these are things that I have coined, so you're not going to see it. If you're going to look to see if it makes sense somewhere else, you're not going to see it worded like this. But hopefully, the description and definitions will help us to understand what we're trying to bring out. So the word vigilant, before I give a definition, can anybody tell me a word, a synonym that comes to mind when you hear the word vigilant? That's a one word. All right. You can raise hand first, but I appreciate the enthusiasm. All right, go ahead, Abriana.
Hi, good night, everybody. Sentry, like SENTRY.
All right. For the people like me who aren't otherwise knowledgeable, can you explain what a sentry is?
It's basically a lookout, like a watchman. So you look for danger and you basically say, when you see danger coming, you call it in.
All right, thank you very much, Abri. Anybody else, when you hear the word vigilant, what comes to mind? Go ahead, Katie.
Watchful.
Watchful, all right. And I presume that is the adjective meaning always looking out and not necessarily you have a bag full of watches. Go ahead, Brother Smith.
Alert.
All right, Brother Smith says alert. Go ahead, Sister Endala.
The point man, the one, for instance, when they are going out on reconnaissance, the person who is in charge of his troop or his they're under his command, and he gives the go ahead to either attack or not.
Like a scout.
Yes, something like that.
All right, thank you very much, think that'd be similar to sentry as well. Anybody else? Anything else comes to mind when you hear the word vigilant? We have sentry, we have point man, we have watchful, we have alert. All right, good examples, good examples. All right, let's look at the definition and see. All of those words, by the way, encapsulated the definition, whether through being a synonym or being an exemplar. So vigilant, intense, unremitting, wary watchfulness, especially for possible danger or difficulties. So it's an adjective, and in its, this is a very distinct definition, but it says intense, unremitting, wary watchfulness, especially for possible danger or difficulties. A lot of words describing this here. So we're going to break down some of these so we can get a fulsome understanding of what this kind of vigilant is. So we have 3 adjectives describing watchfulness. So watchfulness is a state of being constantly attentive and responsive to signs. A state of being constantly attentive and responsive to signs. So 2 things we're seeing there. Being attentive, and attentive here literally means paying attention. And responsive. And responsive means responding to. So there's a constant state of paying attention so that one can respond to. And the things here being signs. And given the word watchfulness, it implies vision, but it's not only vision, it's all of the senses. This idea of consistently being attentive to so that one can respond to. What type of watchfulness is highlighted here? So we see intense. Word intense means of extreme force, degree, or strength. So there is a certain degree of force, certain degree of strength being applied in one's watchfulness. So it is not a haphazard, lackadaisical type of attentiveness or responsiveness. There is extreme force, degree, and strength being applied to this type of watchfulness. Unremitting means never relaxing or slackening, incessant. So this speaks to a consistency. It also speaks to a continuous state of being on edge. And on edge here, not in a negative term, but in a positive term. You're not being relaxed. You're not being slack. You're always on point, just in case something might happen. Wary. Feeling or showing caution about possible dangers or problems. So this speaks more to the emotional state of watchfulness. The idea that caution is needed, that the situation is serious, that there are possible dangers or problems. That is the wariness here. So it's not just that you're on alert. It's not just that you're paying attention through with significant effort at a continuous pace. It's also with the feeling that the situation is serious, that at any point in time, there could be dangers or problems. That is how vigilance or being vigilant is described. And then, of course, we have the maneuver aspect. So having established what type of attitude we should have, how do we employ this vigilance? Through a movement or series of moves requiring skill and care. So it's not just about recognizing the state that we need to be in, that we need to be vigilant, that we need to be attentive and responsive. We need to ensure that we can carry this out through skillful and careful movement. Skillful and careful movement. Imagine, I'm not a big horror movie fan, but even in movies where there are situations of danger, there usually is one character that is particularly clumsy. So even though they recognize the dangers around them and the importance of being careful, their inability to maneuver their environs usually lends to them ending up in danger. That is one of the things that we have to pay particular attention to. Not just being vigilant, being skilled enough to maintain this vigilance without increasing the danger that we are facing. All right, so of an activity, probably should go back on the screen. Of an activity, you're going to see pictures of animals. And if you think you know the animal, you raise your hand and you tell me what the animal is, and I will give you points. All of the animals don't have the same amount of points. The more difficult the animal is to guess, the more points associated with that particular animal. All right. So I'm going to, if you think you know any of the animals on the screen, you raise your hand and I will give you the opportunity to answer. All right. Please note the points will be going towards your team. All right. Go ahead, Tenant Tribe.
Tiger.
Tiger is one. Oh, you only get one.
Oh.
Yes, as an individual. All right. Points to Denarius. Go ahead, Brother Smith. Oh, Brother Smith, you have to take off your hosting as well so that you don't fly to the top.
I see a lion.
Okay, I don't know where you see it because that's not there.
This one down here on the bottom right hand side.
Lion?
Yeah.
No, we can't accept that. Sister Endala?
Lioness.
That's a mountain lion.
We'll accept that. Or cougar.
Mm.
Go ahead, Kadeen. Oh, Lord, that's a lawyer. Go ahead, Kadeen.
Leopard.
That is not the answer that we're looking for. Go ahead, Tenant Tribe.
A cheetah.
That is not the answer that we're looking for. Any other guesses? We have two pictures left.
Can I go again?
Which ones
Yep.
do we
If
have?
it's somebody different, sure, David.
Is that a jaguar?
It is a jaguar. All right. We still have the bottom left hand to answer. Go ahead, Sister Ndala. Oh, Sister Ndala.
A lynx.
Lynx is correct. Pick up yourself, Sister Ndala. All right, moving to our next slide. Sister Ndala, look away. Apologies, I should have given that warning beforehand. Go ahead, Kadeen.
I want to say crocodile.
All right, crocodile is acceptable. Go ahead, Abriana.
Top left-hand side is a Komodo dragon.
Is that repeat?
Komodo dragon.
Komodo dragon. You said Komodo first.
I said Komodo the first time. I'm sorry.
I say yes, Komodo dragon is correct. Go ahead, Brother Grennell.
Cobra, snake.
I need a modifier. So it's not just cobra, it's a particular cobra.
Modifier cobra.
Anybody want to anybody want to help Brother Grennell? All right.
Rattlesnake.
If I help, will I get a point?
No, it would go to the men. So Brother Grennell, nobody now help you. All right, go ahead, Brother Smith.
I was saying rattlesnake.
No, that's not the answer we're looking for. Go ahead, Tenant Tribe. Oh, I see Brandon helped you in the chat, Dad. King Cobra is right. Go ahead, Tenant Tribe.
No, I don't know.
Okay, don't know the one. Kadeen, you know the one to the bottom right?
Black Mambi.
Sister Hobbs, repeat that, Sister Hobbs.
Black Mambi.
Close enough, Mugia. It's Black Mamba. Black Mamba. Mugi Sister Hobbs for that. So Black Mamba is right. Kaden, you raise your hand and nothing. What is the answer, Kaden? Anyway,
Sorry, mistake.
Sure. Moving on. Go ahead, Dejane.
Polar bear.
Polar bear is right. Go ahead, Tenant Tribe.
Octopus. No,
Squid.
it's not an octopus. Polar bear.
You hear that?
I'm here. I hear it says squid.
No. Hang on.
Repeat.
Sorry.
It's Ella going Steve.
Oh, go ahead, Elia.
Well, mommy said it first, but octopus.
Octopus? No, that's not the answer we're looking for. Go ahead, Kadeen.
Seal.
We need it have to be more specific than that.
I don't know.
Any other ladies want to help Kadeen? What kind of seal
Yes.
it is?
Yes, it's a leopard seal.
Yes,
Why,
it
Sister
is.
Endal, are you Teeth Stanley?
Thank you.
Go ahead, Brother Grennell.
Sister Endala said the one that I was about to say.
Okay. Go ahead, Brandon.
Otter.
There's a modifier needed for that otter.
Squid. Squid.
Nobody can help Brandon. It's a particular type of otter. Just like how it's a particular type of octopus.
Okay.
It's a Johnson used to be.
Go ahead, Tenant Tribe. You help out Brandon.
Sure.
Sea otter.
No.
River otter.
All right, I'll give it a half points then, since they don't have. So it's a giant otter. That's the one that Brandon had, and it is a giant Pacific octopus. I would have accepted giant octopus as well. So 1 point for the ladies, 1 point for the men. Go ahead, Kadeen.
Hippo.
Hippo what?
The long word. Hippopotamus.
Hippopotamus.
That's right. Go ahead, Tenant Tribe.
Grizzly bear.
Talk about
Is it grizzly bear?
We didn't need that specific. Brown bear would have sufficed. Go ahead, Brother Grennell.
Black bear.
I look for see him there. No, that's not up there. Go ahead, Brandon.
Tasmanian devil.
Tasmanian devil is right.
Okay, take down man.
Oh, is that you get them, Mom?
It's okay.
All right.
Yeah,
Anybody know the one to the top right? For those who watch X-Men, you're supposed to know what this is.
Wolverine.
Raise, are those in hand raise? All right, hand up. Wolverine is right. So Wolverine. Oh, Locks, I lowered the hands. Raise up the hands back again. Apologies. Go ahead, Brandon.
Orca.
Orca is right. Go ahead, Brother Smith.
Shark.
Repeat.
Shark.
Brother Smith, you know that is not going to be sufficient.
Gray shark. Large shark. Man-eating shark.
Brother Smith, none of them modifiers they don't work. Tenant Tribe, you can see if you
Big
can
teeth
spit
shark.
that.
Yeah. Red white shark.
That's Elia?
Yeah.
Yes, great white shark is correct. Go ahead, Kadeen.
Humpback whale.
No. Go ahead, brother Grennell.
Willie.
I think Free Willy is what you're going for. Brandon already gave that one. And it don't seem like I'm getting any modifiers, so I guess I'll give Brother Smith one. Oh, go ahead, Abriana.
I'm gonna guess left hand side, bottom left hand side, shark.
Not a bad guess, but no.
Okay.
Tenant Tribe.
Sperm whale.
Sperm whale, no. And not zebra shark either. Yannick. Sister Endala.
A whale shark, the one at the top, on the
Sister
right
Endala,
hand
no say
side.
you're too bad, man. Whale shark is correct. Any guesses for the bottom left, or should I just give? All right, I'll give Brother Smith for shark there. 1 point for shark, since nobody has never said it. It's a bull shark. A bull shark. And our last slide. Go ahead, Dejane.
Eagle.
Oh, you know, say that too vague. Anybody want to help out Dejane?
Bald head eagle.
Man, I think they would appreciate the head part being added, you know.
Bald eagle.
All right, bald eagle is right. Go ahead, Brother Smith. Feel like I did Brother Smith one answer that, do you know?
I don't know how you could put up all of the things, and one of them is not a falcon. Don't ask me which one though.
All right, well, none of them are falcons, so I guess we can't agree with that. Brother Grennell.
Bald eagle was what I had in mind.
Okay. And no other guess? All right, no. Go ahead, Tenant Tribe.
Kestrel.
Repeat.
Kestrel.
Oh, no, that's not there, but that's a good one. That's a good guess. Kadeen.
Oh, sorry, I had put up my hand to do the bald eagle.
Bald head eagle. Go ahead, Brandon. Brandon.
American eagle.
No, Brandon, that's American. Go ahead, Brother Smith.
I know another bird, I think it's an osprey.
Wow, Brother Smith knows that. Osprey is correct, and that's the top left. But never bother ask you which one you call osprey. Go ahead, Abriana.
Bottom right is a hawk.
No, it's not a hawk. Let me help you out. All of them are eagles, apart from the osprey. Brother Grennell?
Yeah.
Sister Grennell, answer that. Go
Mommy?
ahead.
Yeah, no, I think it's what my answer is wrong.
But let me hear it same way, man. If it's wrong, me laugh. What?
Falcon.
Mommy, you never hear me just say that all I never eagle. Unless they say it is a falcon eagle. Tenant Tribe?
Seth, that's how she, Stephen, that's how she knew she was wrong.
Oh, okay. Oh, sorry, mom. We never know it was a post-mortem thing. David?
American eagle.
Brandon said that already, but I do appreciate the second laugh. All right, so the bottom right one is a golden eagle, and the bottom left is a harpy eagle. All right, good job. Why did Stephen put up all of this now? Can anybody, there's one thing that is common to all of the animals that I just showed. Can anybody guess it? 2 points to anyone who can tell me what is common to all of these animals. Go ahead, Abriana.
They're all predators.
I need a little bit more than that.
They all eat other animals.
I never said a redefining of that. All right, if nobody can give me a better answer than that, I'll give you the points. Galaxy J6. Oh, Galaxy J6 and gone. Go ahead, Kadeen.
I want to say they're on the top of the food chain.
There's a particular term that I need.
They're carnivores.
All right, that's another term I need. Brother Smith?
They are valiant, vigilant, and able to maneuver.
Good try, Brother Smith. Brandon?
Is it apex predators?
There we go. That's the term that we wanted. Apex predator. So all of them are predators, but the difference between or anybody can tell me what an apex predator then, rather than me giving the answer. The difference between an apex predator and just a regular predator. Go ahead, Aubrey.
An apex predator eats all the other predators.
In some cases, but not all the time. Go ahead, Tenant Tribe.
Apex predators are predators that eat other animals and they're at the top of the food chain. It's at they're the animals at the top of the food chain.
So it's not just that they're at the top of the food chain, they're also not consumed by other or not particularly attacked by other predators. You have some predators that are at the top of the food chain, but they share the top of the food chain with other animals. So that animal can eat it, it can eat other animals as well. Apex predators. David, you're saying something?
Are humans considered predators?
But
Humans are considered apex predators.
But we eat all of them?
Pardon?
We eat all of them.
So we would be considered the apex predators, but the reason why we aren't is because we aren't in their environment. So the apex predator, what separates apex predators from just predators in general is the fact that they dominate their environment. Human beings aren't typically within the environment of any of these predators. We have to go outside of our regular environment to be affecting these particular environments. Similarly, a lot of these animals would die to other predators if they were in other environments. So the fact that they are apex predators doesn't mean that they are necessarily better or badder than other animals that aren't apex predators. They just so happen to be the baddest of their animals within that particular food chain. And there's something very specific about that knowledge, the fact that where they reside, they are essentially at the top. So just a quick definition, as was highlighted, predator at the very top of a food chain. Unlike some other predators, it's never preyed upon. It is never preyed upon itself. Exactly, Abriana. Giant otter pulls up anywhere that a crocodile is. That is the end of Mr. Giant Otter. They are not concerned for their safety because they believe themselves to be, and three factors. One, strong enough to overpower adversity. So they believe that they have the greatest power within their food chain. Two, sturdy enough to endure attack. So even if it is a case where their power is matched by another animal, their ability to endure the attack compared to that other animal renders them to be greater than that animal, and feared enough to not be targeted. So whilst there may be animals within their food chain that do have the capability to kill them, that animal has fear ingrained within it that these animals will not target that animal. And as a result of that, that animal remains at the top. So those three, that strong enough, sturdy enough, feared enough mentality keeps the apex predator at the top. And we know that animals, as created by God, facilitate these kinds of behavior. What animal is this? Raise your hand if you know. Yeah, easy point. Go ahead, Kadeen.
Sheep.
All right, so it's sheep. And this is how we are described. This is the animal that is used not just to describe individuals, but God's people. God makes comparison between us and sheep. And if you're a part of our initial Bible study on the sheep, you would know exactly why. It is because sheep are the apex prey, for want of a better word. Very easy to catch, very easy to overpower, very easy to kill. And we are described as such. We are very, at least from a spiritual sense, very vulnerable. That is what sheep, they're not strong enough to overpower anybody. They're not sturdy enough to take attack, and nobody fears them to not target them. They will be targeted by any predator. And one of the issues that a lot of us as Christians have is that we have a sheep body with an apex predator mentality. And that leads to us falling prey to a lot of things, because like the apex predators, we don't display vigilance. We aren't vigilant because in our head, we are strong enough to overpower, sturdy enough to endure attack, and feared enough to not be targeted. And from a spiritual perspective, that is as far from the truth as it can be. The word vulnerable means exposed to the possibility of being attacked or harmed, either physically, emotionally, or spiritually. That should be a full stop, not a comma. And that is exactly what we are as human beings in a spiritual sense. We are exposed to the possibility of being attacked or harmed. And we are vulnerable to self. So remember what we're looking at is the shape of man. We're looking at the shape of man, similar to the shape of the coin. How is it that the features of me, as a man, both individually and collectively, so me being human, me being flesh in a general sense, and me with my personal character traits in a specific sense, how am I vulnerable? And we are vulnerable to self through surrender. This is in the sense of the villain. And this speaks to surrender means to stop resisting to an enemy or opponent and submitting to their authority. So when we submit to ourselves in a sinful way, then that is essentially surrender. And that is what we see with the villain mentality. This idea that doing the wrong thing is right, or embracing the traits that allow us to walk down the wrong road because these are the things that come easy or natural to us. That is essentially us surrendering to ourselves, surrendering to the traits that come easy rather than fighting, enduring, resisting. We're vulnerable to self through sabotage, and this is the idea of the victim. The word sabotage means to act in a manner tending to hamper or hurt. So when we play the victim, when we embrace the victim mindset, essentially what we are doing to ourselves, though unwittingly, is hampering our own growth or hurting ourselves both emotionally, physically, or spiritually. That shouldn't be both. And by superseding, and this is the mentality of the vigilante, and the word superseding means to take the place of a person or thing previously in authority or use. So when we take on this role of superseding, believing ourselves to play a role that God or Christ should be playing in our lives, we are essentially making ourselves vulnerable. And the aim of the vigilant maneuver, not vigilante, is to help us, put us in a position where these vulnerabilities caused to ourselves are mitigated and removed as much as possible. So we have about 5 minutes left, so let's see if we can get an understanding of how the vigilant maneuver works.
Just a second, please.
Yes, go ahead, Sister Ndala.
Yes, that supersede would be the same as usurp?
Yes, essentially.
Okay, thanks.
No problem. So there are certain steps in the vigilant maneuver that we need to carry out to maximize its efficiency. So we need to apply, this will be ourselves or yourself, so let's look at it from a you perspective. Apply yourself against atrophy. So you need to get skilled. Arm yourself against attack. You need to get sturdy. Assist your allies. You need to get support. Acknowledge your adversary. You need to get smart and acclimatize to your atmosphere. You need to get serious. So in these 5 particular maneuvers, we will maximize our vigilance and hopefully minimize our vulnerability and by extension, our rolling. Let's start with the first one. Apply yourself against atrophy. The word apply yourself is an idiomatic statement. It combines the word apply verb and yourself pronoun, and it means to make oneself work hard in order to complete something successfully. So it's idiomatic because it's not supposed to be taken literal. It's not like you'd apply lotion. You're not putting yourself on something. Literally just means to make yourself work harder so as to complete something successfully. So applying yourself, working hard with our end goal in mind. The word atrophy is a wasting away or progressive decline as from disease or disuse. So something wasting away, something declining steadily over time, and that can be because of disease like cancer. Cancer can cause atrophy of the muscles, atrophy of the cells, and disuse. And disuse is the one I want us to focus on here. The word disuse means cessation of use or practice. So the idea here is that we can waste away, we can decline if we are not using or practicing things that we should be using or practicing. And we're going to highlight exactly what it is that we should be using or practicing. 2 verses bring this to forefront. We have 2 minutes, I think. No, I don't want us to minimize the effectiveness of those passages. So this is where we will end this evening. If you want to take note of these passages so you can read them in your own time, as they will be our starting point from next week's class, then you can do so. Thank you very much for your cooperation, your interaction, your participation this evening. Points standing. Shekel on 16 points and Denarius on 17 points. It was very close, but congratulations, Denarius. We'll see how next week's class will go points wise. That is it for me. If we have any prayer requests, feel free to raise your hand or write it in the chat, and we will have someone pray on your behalf. Brother David, would you be able to close us in prayer?
Even Sean is volunteering.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you very much, Sean. Really appreciate it. All right, it doesn't appear that we have any prayer requests, so Sean, you can go ahead.
Let us pray. Very Heavenly Father, I thank you for waking us up this morning. I thank you for getting us through this long day. Lord, I thank you for making us all being able to come together and listen to Brother Stephen preach a good Bible class. Lord, please help him to continue to be able to finish up the series and that we'll all learn something because of this. Lord, please help everyone who has any requests, even though they may not say it out loud. Lord, please help us, and Lord, please forgive us for our sins. Lord, please help us to continue learning from Brother Stephen. In just now, pray, amen.
Amen. Thank you very much, Brother Sean. Brother Smith, would you be able to take us through the announcements?
Okay. I'm not sure whether there were any birthdays, none were put up. No anniversaries, as I understand it. Bible class continues on Sunday with Brother Tennant taking us through joy, and the series continues with the parable of the last.
Brother Smith,
Yes, sir.
on Sunday, we will be having, fourth Sunday is men's and women's training class.
Okay.
And what we'll be having a members meeting, just to look at the gospel meeting, the workshop, the review, plus some other issues that we want to discuss as a congregation, to include the Christ Ambassador Program for Melrose Avenue, not Melrose Avenue, Melrose Infant and Primary School. So plus some other things. I will send out something by tomorrow to indicate some of the agenda items for that meeting. So it will be a combined situation. That is, we won't have the men's and women's training class, but a members meeting.
Okay. On Thursday at 11, there will be the Thanksgiving service for Sister Beverly Sinclair. We'll be at church at 77 Reddy's Road, and we will also have it on Zoom. There was a request asked that those who plan to attend should indicate to Brother Grennell whether they are going, so that we can establish the numbers. So that's on track. Then on the 26th, which is Saturday, right? There is this children's treat where there'll be career counseling, medical checkup, eye testing, and school supplies will be made available. So this is an outreach of the Benevolence Committee. So please support the process. Not sure if there's a call for, if you have supplies and you want to participate in that way. I'm sure that the church would appreciate it. And anybody on the Benevolence Committee within earshot? Hello? Somebody on Benevolence Committee joining, sharing? No. All right. And Saturday will be brief therapy support group. A regular Zoom link will work. Be facilitated by Brother Andre. If you know someone who is grieving, you can invite them to participate in the process. And that's what I have. Now life will be the Saturday after, and the topic is to be announced. That's all she wrote. Thank you very much for your active participation, and we look forward to seeing you either on Thursday or on Saturday, certainly brief therapy again on Sunday. And once again, we just want to celebrate the spiritual birth of Sister Dejane, who is on with us tonight. We might be just heal her up, if you will. Leave the Zoom meeting open a little bit so you can actually reach out to Sister Dejane.
Hi, Sister Dejane. Good to have you again at our Bible class, but this time not as the regular Dejane, but as Sister Dejane. So just keep studying and continue to be interested in the Bible class.
Yes, and thank you.
Okay. All right. That's it. Pulling down the tent. Have a
Good
great
night.
night. Rest well.
Good night.
Good night. Good night.